All-Star break week here. Here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. The first hitter, Jazz Chisenhall of the Miami Marlins. So Chisenhall, he played some second base last week for this Marlin team, and there's rumors swirling teams are going to be interested in him as a second baseman. So this year, the number's not all that great for Chisenhall, but he's in a weaker Marlin lineup this year with not a lot of protection, and teams are going to pitch carefully to Chisenhall. On the year, 12 home runs, 42 RBIs. 18 stolen bases, 41 runs scored, a 249 average, and a 321 on base. But the last couple weeks, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 5 runs scored, a 163 average, and a 281 on base. And to dig deeper, last month of the year, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 10 runs scored, a 226 average, and a 318 on base. So his stats overall, I think, are pretty decent on the year here for Jazz Chisenhall. But right now, with the rumors swirling, he could get traded and teams interested in him as a second baseman, it's going to build his value up, I believe, and help fantasy owners, especially if he goes to a contender and he'll get more pitches to hit, and he's just not the main guy, obviously. This few games, July 11th, Houston 1 for 5, a homer and RBI. July 12th at Cincinnati, 0 for 4. July 13th at Cincinnati, 1 for 6, a run. And July 14th at the Reds, 0 for 3. So right now, if he could get that second base eligibility and gets traded to a contender, I think he could help fantasy owners in a big way. And he's a buy low hitter this week. The next hitter, Wyatt Lanford, the Texas Rangers. So hasn't been a great first half of the year. Also, he spent some time on the injured list on the season. 5 home runs, 40 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 30 runs scored, a 254 average, and a 318 on base. And over the last couple weeks, he hasn't done much. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a stolen base, a 222 average, and a 294 on base. So Wyatt Lanford definitely been a struggle for the most part in his first season in the big league. The injury set him back. We saw some flashes from him in June, but now he's reverted back to not really doing much, is Langford. But he's a 5'2 player. He's got big upside. And right now I believe he's going to turn things around. And he's batting cleanup in this Ranger lineup. July 10th at the Angels, 0 for 4. July 12th at the Astros, 0 for 4. July 13th at Houston, 0 for 4, a stolen base. And July 14th at Houston, 0 for 4. So this is a perfect time, in my opinion, to go out there and get Wyatt Lanford. He's only had a couple big games in the month of July, and the rest of the month hasn't done much. So right now, he's been slumping over the last couple weeks. And owners, they did reach for him a lot in fantasy drafts this offseason coming into the year. I believe Langford in the second half, with healthy and getting a couple days off to recuperate, definitely could get things going and can help fantasy owners. So right now, his value's been down and people expected more out of him after the first half of the season. He's a buy low hitter this week. Next hitter is his teammate Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. So Garcia, overall, the numbers aren't horrible. 17 home runs, 45 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 47 runs scored, a 211 batting average, and a 277 on base. But the last month of the season, he hasn't done much at all. Pretty much non-existent. 4 home runs, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, 13 runs scored, a 191 average only, and a 280 on base. So right now, Garcia, it's been a tough month of the season over the last month, where he really hasn't shown power. He hasn't driven in runs, and his batting average is below the Mendoza line. And he's been on this list a decent amount of times this year. The last few games, July 9th at the Angels, 1 for 4, a homer. July 10th at the Angels, 1 for 4. July 12th at Houston, 1 for 3. July 13th at the Astros, 0 for 4. And July 14th at Houston, 0 for 4. So he's struggling mightily right now, is Adolis Garcia, for this Texas Ranger team. But like I said, he got off to a hot start the first 2 months of the year. And the last month and a half, 2 months, he's struggling now, is Adolis Garcia. But maybe the home run derby will unlock that power once again and get him going. Because last year, he had a great year. And obviously in the playoffs in the ALCS and the World Series, he played great baseball. So right now, he's been slumping over the last couple months. He's a buy low hitter this week. The next hitter, Bryson Starr of the Philadelphia Phillies. So Starr, he got off to a monster start to begin the season. But now his numbers have totally tailed off over the last month and a half, 2 months on the year. 6 home runs, 42 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, 44 runs scored, 238 average, 326 on base. I like his on base to batting average difference. At 88 points the difference. Stolen bases, he's going to get about 35 to 40. His start last year at 31, but the power is down. And even the RBIs and runs scored are down a little bit. In the last month of the year, 1 home run, only 8 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 10 runs scored, a 233 average, and a 290 on base for Bryson Starr. And obviously, he's their second baseman, but qualifies at shortstop as well, which is 2 of the weaker positions in fantasy baseball. And good Obviously, versatility. July 11th versus the Dodgers, 1 for 4. July 12th versus Oakland, 0 for 1. July 13th versus Oakland, 0 for 4. And July 14th versus the A's, 0 for 3 with an RBI. So I think Bryson Starr definitely could turn things around for fantasy owners in this Philadelphia Philly team. And like I said, he got off to a roaring start the first month, 6 weeks of the season. And now he struggled and mightily struggled. Last year, he was a 280 hitter with Stott, but this season 238 is way down there for him. But now with Trey Turner back in the lineup the last couple weeks, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber came off the IL last week as well, and then JT Realmuto should be back sooner than later. Hopefully he's going to get more pitches to hit in that lineup, and teams are going to have to pitch to him and pitch around the hitters I mentioned. July 11th versus the Dodgers, 1 for 4. July 12th versus Oakland, 0 for 1. July 13th versus Oakland, 0 for 4. And July 14th versus Oakland, 0 for 3 with an RBI. So like I said, we really haven't seen much out of Bryson Stott over the last couple weeks here and even the last month of the year. So right now, he's struggling. And I believe with these hitters back in the lineup in Philadelphia, struggled a little toward the All-Star break. He's going to bounce back and get things going. And the fifth and final hitter I look to buy and trade for is James Wood of the Washington Nationals, one of the top prospects in all Major League Baseball. He was tearing it up in AAA, and he got the call a couple weeks ago by this national team. And so far in the early going, we haven't seen much. 20 strikeouts and 53 at-bats, a homer, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 5 runs scored, a 245 average, and a 333 on base. James Wood, though, he does have a good eye at the plate. He knows the strike zone very well, but teams are starting to give him a lot of breaking ball stuff over the last week after he came up and he was working the counts longer. He was hitting the ball hard, but now he's been striking out a little more. But James Wood, like I said, he's a blue chipper prospect. I know the first time up for some of these prospects, it don't pan out. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 stints up and down from the majors and minors before these top prospects get going. But right now, this national team, obviously most likely going nowhere this year, even though I know they're 4.5, 5 games out. James Wood, we know, has big-time power. We know he's a 5'2" type of player, early round pick Padres years ago, and one of the headliners as well in the Juan Soto deal. So right now, while he hasn't done much, where there was a lot of hype for his call-up, even though I know it's only 2 weeks, it's a time to go out there and send out feelers to see if you can get Wood on a discount, because I believe he can help fantasy owners in a big way, and he's a big-time prospect. July 10th at Mets, 0 for 3. July 11th at the Mets, 1 for 5. July 12th at the Brewers, 1 for 4, stolen base. July 13th at the Brewers, 1 for 4, run. And July 14th at the Brewers, 1 for 4, an RBI. So like I said, the strikeouts definitely have been an issue here for Wood over the week before the break. In the last 5 games for Wood, he's definitely struck out a whole lot, 11 strikeouts in 5 games. So it's a little over 2 strikeouts per game. So hopefully Wood cuts down on the swing. Like I said, he has a pretty good knowledge of the strike zone, but the breaking ball stuff, these pitchers are trying to get him. But I believe Wood could turn things around and make adjustments and can help fantasy owners. That's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for during this All-Star break.